The impossible return. The proximity alarms across Luna Defense Station blared to life, causing Commander Darius Shaw to spill coffee across his uniform. 17 years of service, and he'd never heard all 5 alert systems activate simultaneously. "Report," he barked, dabbing at the stain with a handkerchief. Lieutenant Maya Patel's fingers flew across her console. "Sir, we have an unidentified vessel that just appeared at the edge of Mars' orbit. No approach vector, no warp signature. It simply wasn't there. And then it was." "That's impossible," Shaw said, moving to peer over her shoulder. "Nothing can just materialize in defended space. The proximity nets would have." "Sir," Patel interrupted, her voice dropping. "The vessel is broadcasting an Earth Space Service identification code." She looked up, face pale. "It's the Starchaser." The command deck fell silent. Everyone knew about the ESS Starchaser. The deep space exploration vessel had vanished without a trace during its mission to the Ta-Ceti system 17 years ago. All hands were presumed lost. "Confirm that identification," Shaw ordered, his voice tight. "Confirmed, sir. Quantum signature matches our records. It's definitely the Starchaser, but what, Lieutenant? The ship appears modified. Significantly. Our scans can't make sense of portions of the hull structure. Some sections seem to phase in and out of our sensors." Shaw stared at the view screen where the distant silhouette of the ship was becoming visible. The familiar chevron shape of the Starchaser was there, but overlaid with strange geometric patterns that seemed to shift even as he watched. "They're requesting communication, sir," Patel said. Shaw straightened his uniform. "Put them through." The main screen flickered, and a woman's face appeared. Captain Elena Reyes, looking remarkably unchanged since the day the Starchaser disappeared. Her dark hair still framed her face in the same short cut, though a streak of silver now ran through it. Her eyes, though, they had changed. They held a depth that made Shaw uneasy. "Luna Defense Station, this is Captain Elena Reyes of the ESS Starchaser requesting clearance to approach Earth and permission to meet with Earth Defense Command." Shaw stepped forward. "Captain Reyes, this is Commander Darius Shaw. Your ship has been missing for 17 years. We thought your entire crew was dead." A small smile touched Reyes' lips. 17 years. Interesting. For us, it's been closer to 5. She leaned forward. "Commander, I understand this is shocking, but we need to speak with Defense Command immediately. Earth is in danger. Captain, we'll need to follow quarantine protocols." "Commander," Reyes cut in, her voice hardening. "I suggest you expedite the process. What we discovered out there changes everything, and time is not on our side." 4 hours later, Shaw led a boarding team onto the Starchaser. 2 security officers, Dr. Amara Okafor, Earth's top xenobiologist, and Professor Jin Wei, the most brilliant physicist humanity had produced in generations. The airlock cycled open to reveal Captain Reyes waiting with her first officer, Commander Malik Nasser. Shaw's first shock was how young they both looked. Reyes had been 42 when the Starchaser launched. She should be nearing 60 now. "Welcome aboard," Reyes said, extending her hand. "I apologize for our dramatic return." Shaw shook it cautiously. Her grip was firm, her skin warm. "Human, at least. Captain, you understand we have questions." "Countless, I'm sure," she replied with a nod. "Please follow me to the briefing room." As they walked through the corridors, Shaw noticed the strange patterns he had glimpsed from the external view. The walls were covered in intricate geometric designs that seemed to shift when viewed from the corner of his eye. When he focused directly on them, they appeared as normal bulkheads. "Your ship looks different," he said carefully. "That's part of what we need to discuss," Reyes replied. The briefing room contained the entire senior crew of the Starchaser, all 12 of them looking far too young for the years that had passed. The walls featured the same shifting patterns, and in the center of the conference table sat a small metallic cube covered in similar designs. "Please sit," Reyes offered. As they did, She remained standing and began her explanation. 5 years ago, by our subjective time, we encountered a spatial anomaly near the TAS-CD system. When we investigated, we found ourselves in contact with an advanced civilization who call themselves the Tessellans. Professor Wei leaned forward. Another intelligent species. That would be only the third we've encountered. Yes, Rise nodded. But unlike the Meridians or the Proxima colony, the Tessellans exist partially outside our understanding of physics. They perceive reality differently. She touched the cube on the table, which began to glow with a soft blue light. The Tessellans gave us technology. Technology that allows us to manipulate the fundamental structure of reality within limited spaces. That's impossible, Professor Wei said, shaking his head. I thought so too, Rise replied with a small smile. Malik, would you demonstrate? Commander Nassar placed his hand over the cube. It pulsed once, and he lifted his hand. A small sphere of light formed above his palm. Then, impossibly, a stylus from the table floated upward against gravity, passing through the solid surface of the table as if it were mist, and into the sphere of light. We can create fields where certain physical laws can be selectively altered, Rise explained. Gravity, electromagnetic forces, even the strong and weak nuclear forces, we can temporarily change how matter and energy interact. Professor Wei stood up and circled the demonstration, his face a mixture of disbelief and wonder. This breaks everything we understand about physics. It doesn't break physics, Nassar corrected. It just shows that reality is more flexible than we understood. Shaw remained skeptical. And these Tessellans just gave you this technology. Why? Rhea's expression grew serious. Because they knew we would need it. She touched another control, and a holographic display appeared above the table, showing 3 massive ships, angular and black, cutting through space like obsidian knives. The Tessellans were nearly wiped out by an expansionist species called the Voidborn. The Voidborn have conquered dozens of star systems, and according to the Tessellans' calculations, they're headed toward Earth. Is this some kind of joke? Shaw asked, anger rising in his voice. Before Reyes could answer, the ship's comm system activated. Captain, came an urgent voice. Multiple vessels just appeared at the edge of the solar system. They matched the profile of Voidborn ships. Shaw felt the blood drain from his face. That's impossible. Our deep space array would have detected their approach. The Voidborn don't travel through space the way we understand it, Rise explained. They fold reality itself to move between star systems. The communications officer's voice came again. Captain, they're broadcasting a message to Earth, system-wide. A moment later, a harsh, mechanical voice filled the room. People of Earth, we are the Voidborn Collective. Your solar system is now claimed for assimilation. Surrender all technological assets and prepare for integration. You have 48 hours to comply. Resistance will result in planetary sterilization. Shaw looked at Reyes, the implications sinking in. This is why you came back. She nodded gravely. The Tessellans sent us to help prepare Earth. The Voidborn conquer through overwhelming technological superiority. But with what the Tessellans gave us, humanity has a chance. A chance against what? Shaw asked, already knowing the answer. Extinction, Reyes said simply. The Tessellans believe humanity has potential they haven't seen in thousands of years. That's why they gave us the means to defend ourselves. Technology that can bend reality itself. As if to punctuate her words, the lights flickered as a distant boom echoed through the ship. The Voidborn had fired their first shot. In the hours that followed, Earth's military command transformed from skeptical to desperate. The 3 massive Voidborn vessels had positioned themselves at strategic points throughout the solar system. One hovered near Mars, another near Venus, and the third, the largest, maintained position just beyond lunar orbit. General Abigail Chen, head of Earth Defense Command, listened intently as Captain Rice explained what they were facing. The Voidborn, aren't just technologically advanced, Rai said, indicating the holographic display of the alien ships. They've evolved beyond what we would recognize as biology. They're a fusion of organic and artificial intelligence, and they view other species as resources to be harvested. How do we fight them? General Chen asked. Conventional weapons won't work, Commander Nassar explained. Their ships exist partially in folded space. Our weapons pass through areas where the physical laws don't align with ours. But the technology the Tessellans gave us, Rice continued, allows us to match their manipulation of reality. We can create zones where their advantages are neutralized. Professor Wei, who had spent hours examining the Tessellan cube, interjected. The principles at work here, they're beyond anything we've imagined. They're not breaking the laws of physics. They're operating on a higher level of them. It's like they found the source code of reality and learned to edit it. Can we replicate this technology? General Chen asked. Not quickly enough, Wei admitted. The mathematical principles alone would take years to decipher. But we don't need to, Rice said. The Starchaser itself has been transformed by Tessellan technology. The patterns you see throughout the ship, they're reality anchors, devices that can project fields where we control which laws of physics apply. A junior officer burst into the room. General, the Voidborn have launched what appears to be a scout ship toward Earth. General Chen turned to Reyes. Show me what your ship can do, Captain. From the bridge of the Starchaser, Captain Reyes and Commander Shaw watched as the Voidborn scout approached Earth. It was smaller than the motherships, but still twice the size of the largest Earth vessel. Reality anchors online, Nassar reported from his station. Project a field in the scout's path, Reyes ordered. Outside the ship, 6 small satellites detached from the Starchaser's hull and moved into formation. They began to pulse with the same blue light as the cube had. The field creates a bubble where we define which laws of physics apply, Reyes explained to Shaw. Watch what happens when the Voidborn enter it. The scout ship fired, a beam of intense purple energy that cut through space toward Earth. As it passed into the field projected by the satellites, something impossible happened. The beam didn't stop or deflect. It simply transformed, the deadly energy dissipating into countless motes of harmless light that scattered like fireflies. What just happened? Shaw asked, staring in disbelief. We changed how energy transfers in that space, Nassar explained. We rewrote the laws of thermodynamics within the field. Their weapons' energy had nowhere to go except to convert to visible light. The scout ship fired again with the same result. Then it changed tactics, launching what looked like missiles. As they entered the field, they slowed to a complete stop, suspended in space. Time dilation, Rice said. Within that portion of the field, time is passing at 1/10,000th the normal rate. Those missiles will take years to cross a few kilometers. The Voidborn scout paused, apparently assessing this unexpected defense. Then it suddenly accelerated, attempting to bypass the field and attack from another angle. They're adaptive, Rice warned. This is just the beginning. Nassar worked his console again, and the reality anchors moved, expanding their field to intercept the scout's new attack vector. This time, when the Voidborn fired their beam, it curved in an impossible arc, looping back toward their own vessel. Space curvature manipulation, Nassar explained. We altered the geometric properties of space itself. The scout took evasive action, retreating to a safe distance. Then it simply vanished, presumably returning to its fleet. They'll report what they've seen, Rice said, and they'll recognize the technology. Shaw stared at the empty space where the Voidborn ship had been. You turned their weapons into light. You stopped time. You bent space itself. Reality engineering, Rice finished for him. And this was just a small demonstration. Back at Earth Defense Command, the mood had shifted from skepticism to cautious hope. The reality anchors had worked, completely neutralizing the Voidborn scouts' weapons. Can we deploy these anchors around Earth? General Chen asked. We can create a defensive perimeter, Rice confirmed, but that's not enough. Why not? Shaw asked. Rays activated a hologram showing the Starchaser, but transformed further than its current state. The shifting patterns covered the entire hull, and sections of the ship seemed to phase in and out of existence. This is what the Starchaser is becoming, she said, a ship that can manipulate reality itself, not just defensively, but offensively. The Voidborn aren't invincible. The Tessellans fought them to a standstill with this technology, and they expect us to finish the fight, General Chen realized. Reyes nodded gravely. Humanity stands at a crossroads, General. The Voidborn will return with their full force. When they do, we need to be ready. Across the room, alerts began to sound. An officer called out, General, the Voidborn motherships are moving into attack formation. Shaw and Chen exchanged looks of determination. The battle for Earth's survival was about to begin, fought with weapons that could bend reality itself. Reality's edge. Earth Defense Command transformed into a hive of frantic activity. On every screen, the three massive Voidborn vessels moved with deliberate precision, positioning themselves in a triangular formation that would allow them to target Earth's major population centers simultaneously. Professor Jin Wei huddled over the Tessellan cube with a team of Earth's most brilliant minds. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he tried to decipher the mathematical principles that allowed it to function. It's like trying to understand calculus using only addition and subtraction, he muttered, running a hand through his disheveled hair. The underlying framework is beyond our current mathematics. Dr. Amara Okafor placed a steadying hand on his shoulder. Focus on what we can understand, not what we can't. How are the anchors manipulating reality? We gestured to the holographic projections surrounding them. From what I can tell, they're not changing the laws of physics. They're changing how our reality interprets those laws. It's like they're changing the variables in the equation, not the equation itself. Across the room, Captain Rice conferred with her crew and Earth's military leadership. The defensive perimeter of reality anchors had been established around Earth, but everyone knew it wouldn't be enough against the full might of the Voidborn fleet. The defensive field will hold for a time, Commander Nassar explained, but the Voidborn will eventually adapt. They've encountered Tessellan technology before. Then we need to take the fight to them, General Chen said, studying the tactical display. Reyes nodded. That was always the plan. The Starchaser isn't just equipped with reality anchors. Its entire structure has been infused with Tessellan principles. Given enough time, we can transform it into a weapon that can directly counter the Voidborn. How much time? Chen asked. More than we have, Reyes admitted. Days, ideally. Hours, at minimum. Before Chen could respond, the alert system blared. Lieutenant Patel's voice came over the comm. General, the Voidborn ships are powering weapon systems. They're not waiting for their ultimatum to expire. On the main screen, the three Voidborn vessels began to glow with an ominous purple light. Energy gathered at focal points along their angular hulls. They recognize the Tessellan technology, Reyes said grimly. They know what we're capable of, so they're striking before we can fully prepare. Deploy all reality anchors, General Chen ordered. Captain Reyes, whatever you're planning, do it now. Reyes turned to her crew. Prepare for core transformation. Full Tessellan protocols. Commander Nassar's eyes widened. Alina, we haven't completed the integration. The human components of the ship. We don't have a choice, Malik, she said quietly. You know what's at stake. As the crew of the Starchaser rushed to their stations, Commander Shaw approached Reyes. What aren't you telling us, Captain? Reyes met his gaze steadily. The Tessellan technology comes with a cost, Commander. The deeper the integration, the more it changes those who use it. Changes how? Before she could answer, the Voidborn attack began. Beams of purple energy lanced from all three ships, converging on Earth's defensive perimeter. Where they struck the reality anchor's field, massive distortions appeared, space itself seeming to crack and fracture. They're targeting the field junctions, Nassar called out. recalibrating anchors to compensate. The Starchaser trembled as its systems surged with power. The geometric patterns covering its hull began to glow with intense blue light, pulsing like a heartbeat. Core transformation at 37%, reported the Starchaser's engineer, Lieutenant Santos. Her hands moved in precise patterns over her console, which seemed to respond as much to her gestures as to her touch. The anchors are holding, but field integrity is down to 83%, Paddle reported. On the tactical display, one of the Voidborn ships changed position, moving to a location where the defensive field was weakest. They're probing for vulnerabilities, General Chen observed. Classic military strategy. There's nothing classic about the Voidborn, Ray said. They don't think like we do. They perceive reality as malleable, a resource to be harvested and reshaped. Like the Tessellans, Shaw noted. Similar in capability, opposite in philosophy, Rice clarified. The Tessellans seek to understand and harmonize with the deeper structures of reality. The Voidborn seek to dominate and consume. The ship shuddered again as the reality anchors strained against the Voidborn assault. Outside, the defensive perimeter flickered, sections of it temporarily failing before being reinforced. Core transformation at 52%, Santos reported. Captain, the human components of the ship are beginning to destabilize. Life support systems are fluctuating. Maintain the transformation, Rai ordered. Divert auxiliary power to life support. Shaw watched as the crew of the Starchaser worked with uncanny coordination, their movements increasingly synchronized. He noticed something else too. The same shifting patterns that covered the ship were beginning to appear faintly on the skin of the crew members, like luminescent tattoos that appeared and disappeared. What's happening to them? He asked Wei, who had joined him on the bridge. The physicist's eyes were wide with both fear and fascination. They're becoming like the ship, partially integrated with the Tessellan technology. The patterns, they must be some kind of interface between human biology and the reality-altering principles. Another violent shudder ran through the ship. One of the view screens exploded in a shower of sparks. Field integrity down to 67%, Paddle reported, her voice tight. The Voidborn are coordinating their attacks now, hitting the same points simultaneously. Core transformation at 68%, Santos called out. The geometric patterns on her skin were now clearly visible, pulsing in synchronization with the ship. Rice turned to General Chen, her eyes now glowing faintly blue. We need to move the Starchaser into attack position. The transformation is progressing faster than expected. We can't wait for completion. Chen hesitated only a moment before nodding. All Earth vessels provide cover for the Starchaser. Get it into position near the largest Voidborn ship. As the Starchaser moved out from Earth orbit, escorted by a squadron of Earth's most advanced warships, the Voidborn intensified their assault. Two of the alien vessels broke off their attack on the planetary defense field to target the approaching Earth fleet. Purple energy beams lanced out, cutting through Earth vessels with terrifying ease. Where they struck, reality itself seemed to tear, the ships not so much exploding as coming apart at the subatomic level. They're using their own version of reality manipulation, Nassar observed, his voice unnaturally calm. The patterns on his skin now covered most of his visible body, pulsing with light, breaking the bonds that hold matter together. Can we counter it? Shaw asked. We will, Rice said. Her voice had taken on a strange harmonic quality, as if multiple voices spoke in perfect unison. Core transformation at 79%, preparing primary reality drive. On the tactical display, the Starchaser approached the largest Voidborn vessel. The Earth ships providing escort had been reduced to less than half their original number, the others destroyed by the Voidborn's reality-shearing weapons. What exactly is the plan here? General Chen demanded. Rice touched a panel on the bridge, and a holographic representation of the Starchaser appeared. At its center glowed a pulsing blue core. The Tessellan core creates a bubble of altered reality, she explained. Within that bubble, we control which laws of physics apply. If we can extend that bubble to encompass the void-born ship, you can change the rules they operate under. Wei finished, understanding dawning. Render their technology inoperable. Or turn it against them, Nassar added. Another violent tremor shook the ship as a void-born beam grazed their hull. Alarms blared throughout the vessel. Hull breach on Deck 3, Santos reported. Sealing emergency bulkheads. Core transformation at 85%, Nassar added. Reality drive coming online. The patterns covering the ship's hull intensified, the blue light now so bright it was painful to look at directly. The same light emanated from the crew members, especially Reyes and Nassar, whose eyes now glowed like blue stars. "Captain," Shaw said cautiously, "what happens to you and your crew when this is over?" Reyes turned to him, her expression serene despite the chaos around them. "The integration is not reversible, Commander. We knew this when we accepted the Tessalon gift." "You're becoming like them," Wei realized. "Not like the Tessalons," Reyes corrected. "Something new. A bridge between human understanding and Tessalon perception." "A sacrifice," Shaw said quietly. "A transformation," Reyes countered. "One that may save our species." The Starchaser shuddered as it came under direct fire from the main void-born vessel. The massive alien ship loomed on the view screen, its obsidian surface absorbing light rather than reflecting it. "Reality drive at full power," Santos announced. "Ready to deploy on your command, Captain." Reyes stood, her body now visibly fluctuating between solid matter and pure energy, the patterns of Tessalon technology having fully integrated with her being. "Humanity should not be forever dependent on borrowed technology," she said, her voice resonating strangely. "What we do now will give Earth time to develop its own understanding of reality engineering. Use it wisely." With those words, she placed her hand on the central console, which responded by melding with her touch. The ship's lights dimmed momentarily, then flared back to brilliant life. "Reality drive engaged," Nassar confirmed. From the Starchaser, a sphere of blue energy expanded outward at an impossible speed, engulfing the nearby void-born vessel before it could evade. Where the sphere touched the alien ship, strange transformations began to occur. Sections of the void-born vessel seemed to fold in on themselves, while others expanded beyond normal proportions. The purple energy weapons flickered and died. "The bubble is disrupting their reality manipulation," Wei explained in awe. "Their technology operates on principles that we're now controlling." On the tactical display, the two remaining void-born ships immediately ceased their attack on Earth and moved to assist their flagship. But before they could reach it, the bubble continued to expand, growing to encompass all three alien vessels. Inside the bubble, the laws of physics had been rewritten. The void-born ships struggled against these new constraints, their forms distorting as the principles they were built upon no longer applied. "We've neutralized their technological advantage," Nassar reported. "They can no longer manipulate reality within the field." General Chen leaned forward. "Now's our chance. All remaining Earth vessels, concentrate fire on the void-born ships." Earth's fleet responded instantly, launching everything in their arsenal. Missiles and energy weapons that had previously been useless now struck home, tearing into the void-born vessels with devastating effect. But the strain on the Starchaser was becoming evident. The ship groaned as its structure was pushed beyond design limits, the reality drive consuming energy at an exponential rate. "We can't maintain the field at this size for long," Santos warned, her voice distorted by the Tessalon integration. "Structural integrity failing." Reyes, now more energy than matter, nodded. "We don't need to." She turned to General Chen. "Order your ships to withdraw to a safe distance." "What are you planning?" Chen asked. "The final phase," Reyes replied. "When the reality drive collapses, it will create a cascading failure in the void-born ship's own reality manipulation systems." "And the Starchaser?" Shaw asked, though he already knew the answer. "We are the Starchaser now," Reyes said simply. "And we accept what comes next." With reluctance, General Chen gave the order. The remaining Earth vessels pulled back, retreating to the safety of the planetary defense perimeter. Inside the Starchaser, the crew made their final preparations. The ship itself was now barely recognizable, sections of it phasing in and out of normal space as the reality drive pushed it beyond the boundaries of conventional existence. Reality drive reaching critical threshold, Nassar reported. Collapse imminent. Reyes turned to Shaw, Wei, and Chen, who had remained aboard despite the danger. It's time for you to leave. Take what you've learned here and prepare humanity for what comes next. The Voidborn are only one of many species that manipulate reality. Someday, you'll need to stand on your own. After a moment of solemn silence, they nodded and moved toward the escape pod. Before departing, Shaw turned back. What you've done won't be forgotten, Captain. Reyes smiled, her form now more light than substance. This isn't an end, Commander. It's a beginning. Minutes later, from the safety of an Earth observation post, Shaw, Wei, and Chen watched the final confrontation. The Starchaser, now a being of pure energy shaped like a ship, pulsed once, twice, then collapsed inward. The reality bubble compressed with it, forcing the three Voidborn vessels into an impossibly small space. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a flash of light brighter than a supernova erupted where the ships had been. When it faded, nothing remained. No Starchaser, no Voidborn vessels, only empty space. They've gone beyond our reality, Wei whispered, pushed into a dimension we can't perceive. 3 days later, Earth still buzzed with the news of their salvation. The Voidborn threat had been neutralized, but at a tremendous cost. The crew of the Starchaser were hailed as heroes who had made the ultimate sacrifice. In a secure laboratory beneath Geneva, Professor Wei worked tirelessly with the remaining Tesselan artifacts recovered from the Starchaser before its final mission. The cube sat on his workbench, its patterns shifting more slowly now. Any progress? Dr. Okafor asked as she brought him coffee. Wei shook his head. It's responding less and less to our interactions. I think it was designed to work only with those who had undergone the transformation. So the technology dies with the Starchaser, she said with a sigh. Not entirely, Wei replied, bringing up a holographic display. We've learned enough to begin developing our own version of reality engineering. Cruder, limited in scope, but ours. In a generation or two, we might approach what the Tesselans gave us.